Greetings, everyone. My name is Davina Liggins, and I am with Healing Made Whole. It's a company that I started to promote and educate basic lifestyle principles that foster longevity, health, and balance within the body. And today I'm going to be talking about basic principles, healing principles, or basic laws, I should say, lifestyle laws that foster healing, balance, and longevity. And before I do that, I want to read a quote to you. It's a very profound quote that kind of illustrates why what I'm about to say is so important. And this is a quote from Hippocrates. And he said, "Illness does not come upon us out of the blue. They are developed from small daily sins against nature. When enough sins have accumulated, illness will suddenly appear." So I believe what he said, and we've all witnessed, whether we are conscious of it or not, what we do on a daily basis definitely impacts health, longevity, and balance within the body. And so I have 9 basic laws, keys to and principles to basic lifestyle habits that foster health, longevity, and balance. And they're not in any particular order, but I would say the first 4 are very dear to my heart. All of them are. But the first 4 I have found to be very profound. All of them are profound. Um, so, grounding and earthing is number 1. Grounding and earthing. This is basically going outside and putting your feet on the ground. And this is akin to the feeling that you get when you're at the beach and you're walking along the beach and with the waves, and you just feel so relaxed and so free. That is akin to or related to the release of negative ions into the body. This is what happens with grounding. It affects every organ system in the body. Many clinical studies have been done to addressing or trying to understand the impact of touching the earth, living things that are planted in the earth or the earth itself, and how that impacts the body is very profound. And I will tell you, if you start to do this, try to do 15 to 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes is optimal, of grounding, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Longer is better. If you can do hours on end, that's wonderful. And I will be talking about all of these in more detail as time goes on. So this is just a highlight. Number 2, whole foods and hydration. Now, what I mean by whole foods is healthy meats, high quality healthy meats. I don't mean low fat necessarily. What I mean is high quality meats, meaning non processed, and fresh fruits and vegetables. And of course, as I said, hydration. The importance of eating is twofold: to obtain macronutrients, that's things like fat, protein, and carbs. These are energy building blocks for our cells, our organelles in the body. We need these components, macronutrients. But what is often left out of the picture are micronutrients. These are things like minerals and antioxidants and other components that come about from fruit and vegetables in particular that play a very important role, like antioxidants and such, that play a very important role in the health of our body. But not only just the health of our body, they're essential for physiology to work. Zinc, iron, uh, magnesium, potassium, sodium, all these things our body cannot make. It highly regulates it and makes sure it stays in balance as best as it can. But if we don't acquire these things from our diet, we're going to run into some serious trouble. And along with that, one of the major important things of eating is correcting any nutrient deficiencies. So if you know you have a deficiency, then you should be tailoring your diet to obtain all nutrients, but also bumping up that nutrients to dig yourself out of that hole. And that's very important. Number three, no or minimal processed foods. The closer you get to the no processed foods, the better it is. We don't need processed foods in our diet, period. Whole foods that look closely like how they come out of the ground or these non processed meats, that's enough. Um, this is how nature has designed the food. It comes with the right combination of things, components, these uh, micronutrients that our body knows what to do with it. And I will say that processed food, as you are well aware, is low or flat out empty of micronutrients by and large. And processing of our body processing uh, processed foods depletes the body. Like I said earlier, our body requires a lot of different factors, these micronutrients, to work. And the whole point of eating is not only to provide the energy, but it gives to the body. It gives the minerals, it gives the vitamins to the body. So when you're eating food that is just high in carbs, let's say most processed food is just high in carbs, um, then it's coming with nothing else to help facilitate the digestion of it, the processing of it, the assimilation of those different components in that food into the body. It's giving nothing. So that means the stores in the body are needed to process that food. That's why we say processed food depletes the body of nutrients. Also, under this category is removing any foods that cause inflammation. And this could include dairy, wheat, gluten, processed oils, refined sugar, and etc. And also includes foods that are specific to what causes inflammation in your body. For example, some people can handle tomatoes, but other people, it lights the fire, if you will, that fire of inflammation and arthritis, for example. So you want to remove those specific foods that causes inflammation in your body and the general foods that we know, that we just know causes inflammation for most people. And of course, you can test it to see if that applies to you. Number four on the list is fasting. Fasting. This is very, very critical. And what I mean by fasting, it could be daily intermittent fasting. That means you only eat two or maybe one meal a day. And so you're fasting for a large part of the day. It could mean weekly fasting, where one time a week you don't eat for 24 hours or what have you. Or quarterly fasting could be annual fasting. It could be all of these combined. Um, and what's surprising is that you don't need long stints of not eating to reap the benefits of being in the fasted state. And we have to realize that there is this balance between the fed and the fasted state. And the advantage of being in the fasted state is that there are actually healing mechanisms that are turned on in the body that facilitates healing. For example, autophagy. That means like self eating. So basically, what happens is when you're in a fasted state, about 16 plus, maybe more toward 18 hours of being in a fasted state, autophagy turns on. And what that is that the body is now eating itself, old components, cells that are damaged, cellular organelles that are damaged. It's repairing itself and actually chews it up, so to say, and recycle those components and use them to help rebuild the body. This is turned on in a fasted state. It also allows the body to go around and scavenge up any bacteria, any viruses, or any toxins in the body. This is part why fasting is so helpful for the detox process. This is very important to understand. Fasting also controls insulin. There's this thing going around that's rampant, especially in the US and several countries across the world is called hyperinsulinemia. This is the foundation for many of these metabolic disorders that we see. And I'll be talking more about hyperinsulinemia, but fasting helps to control that. Um, Fifth, number five on the list is enjoying physical activity or movement. Now, you notice I didn't say exercise. That word within itself can turn some people off. So if we just keep it as enjoyable physical activity, if that's dancing, if that's Zumba classes, if that's walking, brisk walking, make sure you include some strength training in that. That's very important. And what I want to say here is that we know physical exercise or physical movement plays a really big role in stress relief. But I would like to say that as we age, we lose lung capacity, we lose muscle tone and strength. And so, if you actively are engaging in cardiovascular activities, um, it helps to preserve or even expand your lung capacity as you age. This is very important. And also, building muscles. We know muscles are great at burning fat. And I would like to say that there's a big myth out there that exercise is one of the major things that we should be doing to lose weight. That is a misunderstanding. It helps to facilitate that process. But what you want to do to lose weight is to manage that insulin levels. And we'll be talking about that in time. So enjoy the benefits of exercise outside of weight loss, because a lot of times people don't exercise because they don't see the benefit in the weight loss. But there's so much more to exercise than trying to use it for weight loss. Number six on the list, we're getting there. Number six on the list is sunshine and fresh air. This is so important. This is another thing that is misunderstood. A lot of people think that, oh, if I take vitamin D3, a capsule or supplement or what have you, then that's enough. I don't really need to stress about getting out in the sun or getting outside. This is a big misconception or misunderstanding about the role of sun in our life. So, vitamin D3 is only a small component of what the sun offers us by its UV light and hitting the sun, and then that starts the process of generating vitamin D3 in the body. Yes, that is true. However, if you're not getting sun, you're missing out on other components. There's near infrared light that is emitted from the sun. We can't see it, but we can definitely feel it. It is known as the warmth of the sun. And this light penetrates deep into the body, far deeper than UV A or B light, and it penetrates deep into the body and it fosters healing within the body. There are several studies about that. Several healing clinics is even geared around near infrared light. And people sit under these artificial, like near infrared lights to help generate and foster healing in the body. Well, the sun is outside for us and it's free. Let me just tell you that you don't have to be in direct sunlight like how we know you would need for vitamin D3 production. Just being outside and feeling the warmth of the sun, sitting in the shade, is beneficial to the body. Also, sunlight is very important for anchoring the circadian rhythm, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But getting sunlight early in the morning helps to jumpstart or maintain that circadian rhythm in the body. And sunlight exposure in the morning has impacts of what happens later in the day. Even as the sun is going down, the exposure in the morning impacts what happens. So, point number seven, consistent sleep habits, consistent healthy sleep habits, and balanced circadian rhythm. Now, the entire body, all organ systems are on a clock. You may have heard this and you probably are aware of this. And let me just say that at certain times of the day, there's optimal times where that organ system is functioning optimally, or certain times of the night, that organ system, as time goes on, certain organ systems are healing and regenerating itself as you sleep. So if you're up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get something done, you're totally disrupting the healing mechanisms that are there in the body as you sleep. And so I want everybody to realize there's a certain time that we should be going to bed and a certain time we should be rising. Particularly going to bed is probably the most important just because most of us don't adhere to it. There's so much to talk about that. For example, hormones regulation and the an impact of that proper cycle on the physiology as well as mood, serotonin levels, dopamine levels, all of these things um, are on a clock and how they move throughout the day naturally, unconsciously. Number 8 is weekly rest. This is weekly rest time. And what I mean by this is a full consecutive 24 hours of downtime. For me, that is Friday night to Saturday night. You get to choose whatever day you want. There's a reason why I chose those days. You have to figure out what works for you. Um, but it's 24 hours. Protected, protected, protected is something that you look forward to as the week goes on. You're like, I know I have a downtime. Now, this is probably going to be the most hardest thing that people implement because when you set such stiff and hard boundaries, that means your life have to revolve around that. But I can tell you personally, that is probably one of the greatest things that I have done in my life. And I've been doing that for years now, and I won't change it. Lastly, number 9 is mental, emotional, and spiritual peace. Peace, well being. And I'm just going to say one sentence here, or maybe it's two sentences. I think it's just one. And that is Proverbs 17:22. I think it sums it up very well. And that is a joyful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. And this whole thing links to stress levels, the impact of cortisol, prolonged exposure of cortisol, high levels of cortisol. It dries up the bones. So these are my 9 laws, key principles, whatever you want to call them. They provide a strong foundation. This is just the basic, the bottom line foundation of health, longevity, and balance within the body. And that is what Healing Made Whole is all about. And if you ever work with me, these are the 9 laws that we're going to get started on and helping you to rearrange your life so that you are in line with nature. You are in line with the physiology of your body. And in the meantime of that, yes, you'll be working on specific things, ailments or disorders in the body. But I do believe in establishing that strong foundation. So I'm going to quote Hippocrates again, just so that it drives home the picture of it all. And again, he says, illness do not come upon us out of the blue. They are developed from small daily sins against nature. When enough sins have accumulated, illness will suddenly appear. I hope this was helpful to all of you and at least give you some groundwork on how you can even start restructuring your life to turn it around or to keep building it in a direction that you are aiming and hoping for. You all be blessed and have a wonderful the rest of your day, and I'll see you the next time.